And yes, it's so nice to be here with you. So nice to be here with you. You know, it's a funny time of year, New Year's. And people had this idea that now is the time for change. And, you know, there's some truth to that. It's a new year, and so we can reflect a little bit on how the last year was and say, oh, yeah, I I dropped the ball, you know, here and there, and I could use some help. I could use some help. I could use some support. And so I encourage you as we go into this new year to connect more deeply with your heart, connect more deeply with the truth, connect more deeply with support. You know, whether you want to show up to these satsangs or the Wednesday evening meditations or the new Kundalini support group or the next retreat, you know, whatever it is, you know, I encourage you, make your heart the voice you listen to first and foremost. And if you need support, reach out, get some help, whatever that looks like. You know, for some of us, support looks like a warm bubble bath. For others of us, you know, the next thing we need to do is take a big, long, cold shower and really wake us up, you know, out of the illusion we've found ourselves stuck in. And discernment, you know, discernment is what is needed to figure out, well, what do I need? Like, what do I truly need? What will be healing? What will be liberating? What will be supportive? You know, for me, what was supportive was spending 20 years with my teacher. You know, that was supportive for me. That was supportive. I needed that. Not everyone needs that. You know, some people just need a book or a mantra or, you know, to discover yoga. And I encourage you to listen to the voice of your heart. Let it lead you. Let it guide you. Let it show you the way forward. And so, anyways, um, you know, with the new year, and I really encourage you to reflect on what do you want out of this lifetime? What do you want? And just to ask yourself a simple question. Am I walking in that direction? Am I walking in that direction? Am I walking in that direction slowly? Am I walking that direction with some speed, with some diligence? You know, all of us will wake up to the ultimate truth. But the question is, well, is it going to be in this lifetime or the next? You know, sometimes when I go and study with the Tibetans, they have this teaching. You know, it's kind of like I think it's a terrible teaching, but it's a little bit of a slap in the face. It's humbling. There's this idea that we start meditating now, and then maybe in 1,000 or 10,000 lifetimes we'll wake up. And I'm like, oh my Lord, that's too long. That's too much suffering. How about now? How about in this lifetime? And can we dedicate ourselves to this path? And so with New Year's coming, you know, instead of saying I want to lose 20 pounds, how about I want to heal? I want to wake up. I want to get to know the goodness and the innocence and the beauty of my heart. I want to let go of my internal critic. It's always attacking me. You know, I want to forgive myself or forgive my mother, father, sister, or brother. And so you sit with this question. What do you want? What needs to happen? How do I need to surrender myself to this higher truth? Okay. Let's see what I have tonight for questions. Here's one from Kyle. This is a fun one. Hi, Craig. Can you talk about conscious relationships, specifically in terms of conscious romantic relationship? What is the most important value to remember when interacting with our partner? The most important value is love. Is love. You know, I used to, many years ago, I used to do couples counseling. And, you know, with couples counseling, it was like opening a can of worms. You know, I would sit in a room and two people would normally, you know, they'd come in and both of them would be very, I want to use the word disgruntled, agitated, you know, anxious, nervous, and often very much on the edge of divorce or breaking up or leaving, you know, ending the relationship. And I made the mistake of just starting off by just looking at them both and saying, okay, like who wants to go first? And you know, let's talk about what's going on in this relationship. And right away, you know, the finger pointing would begin. And you know, after a couple sessions of this, I'd say, okay, let's start a different kind of way. You know, let's start a different kind of way. So people would come in, you know, the parties would come in. I'd sit, I'd have them meditate a little bit, you know, pray, open themselves to God, to grace, and remind them that we are here first and foremost because we love each other. We're here because we love each other. You know, that's why we're here. And that's why I'm here this evening. It's because I have great love for you. And like right now, I could be taking a nap or doing something, you know, going outside, shoveling my driveway or something, playing in the snow, sitting with Doodles and Buster, my two favorite little furry guys. But I'm here because I love you, because I care about you. And so this is what conscious relationship is about, is I'm here for you. Now, egoic relationship is actually the opposite. I'm here because I want you, I need you to fulfill my wants, needs, and desires. And, you know, oftentimes one of the greatest desires that we want from our partner, we want our partner to do our healing work for us. We want our partner to do our healing work for us. You know, so if you listen to any song on the radio, it's like 99.9% of them are, I want you, I need you, and I need you to hear, and I need you to love me, because I don't know how to love myself. And so almost everyone on planet Earth suffers from this. I need you to love me. It's a fundamental egoic delusion, is I need you to love me. And as mammals, this is wired into us. And there's a reason for it. Like my wife, she's in the other room putting my 6-year-old daughter to bed. And when you're a little girl, a little boy, little bean, you need support. You need support. Sometimes you need support in falling asleep, and so um, we get this imprint that I need you, basically mommy and daddy, to hold me, love me, support me. And then as you grow up, this need gets transferred onto a romantic partner. Sometimes it gets transferred on a spiritual teacher, like spiritual teacher, I need you to be the perfect human being. And if you're the perfect human being, then and only then can I trust that it's okay to let go. And of course, this will end in disaster. That's why I offer my little disclaimer at the beginning here. It's like, I am not a perfect human being. In fact, I'll even go as far as to say this, that God will set up every relationship that you ever are in to fail. To fail at the person being perfect, the perfect lover, partner, perfect mom, dad, sister, brother, whatever. God wires, the events, the circumstance, the environment, the relationship to fail. I don't mean completely fail, but I do mean completely fail at the person being perfect to meet all your needs. And the reason being, and this is very important, the reason relationship is wired to fail is so that you learn that you are enough. That you are enough. With or without the other person. So that you learn that you are the Buddha. The Buddha doesn't need anyone. Now, the Buddha sure loves to share in the company of others and loves to give, but the Buddha doesn't need anyone. And the only way you discover that you don't need anyone is through having your heart broken again and again and again, and rejected and your needs denied, your most perfect partner dropping the ball, and then you realize, I'm okay. Now, the egoic realization oftentimes in that moment is, oh, they hurt me, so I have to shut down, and now I'm going to become jaded. But the spiritual realization can be something quite different. They hurt me, and yet it didn't kill me. It didn't kill or actually harm my most holy and innocent presence. On the surface, it may have hurt, egoically or personally. But if you feel what's deeper than that, there's something here that cannot be harmed. And the only way to discover this is to live through pain, to live through trauma, to live through heartbreak. And to realize, oh, I'm still perfectly good, despite the fact that Susie Cream Cheese dumped me. Like, I'm still completely good. I'm still lovable. And not only am I lovable in the eyes of God, but when you look in at your own heart and see how good and beautiful your heart is, you see that your human self is still lovable, and that your true heart is actually made of love itself. It's actually made of love itself. And so the great question when someone dumps you or rejects you or abandons you is not, how do I get them back quickly, or how do I get someone else in here to do the job that they failed at? But the great question is, how can I love my own broken and confused human egoic sense of self? How can I love my human self? There's a funny thing that happens when you love your ego to death, when you love the part of you that's been rejected, when you love the inner child to death, the inner child actually stops looking outward for someone else to love me and starts looking inward to the abundant flow of your own divinity. So it's your human egoic heart, your emotional heart, gets its heart broken again and again and again, and finally realizes, oh, they're never going to be able to love me enough. But who can love me enough? I can love me. My Buddha nature can love my human nature enough. And then there's this inner transformation that happens where the human nature looks to Buddha nature. And then finally it's satiated. It's like, oh my God, me loving me, me loving me. And there's a great freedom in that, because then you no longer need anyone. You're happy to share life with someone, but you don't need them. So you can share in friendships, you can share in, romance or whatever. And it comes from a place of innocence. It comes from a place of happiness, from joy, instead of coming from insecurity. Let me see if I'm answering Kyle's question. Hi, Craig. Can you speak about conscious relationships? And so love is the most important value. And then along with love, we have to remember what one of my teachers said, is relationship is a wonderful opportunity for growth. So relationship is an opportunity to love oneself fully and to share oneself with a partner in the realm of love. And then it's also a great opportunity for growth. The beautiful thing about relationship is it mirrors your wounds, it mirrors your shadow, it mirrors all the places where you're needy, where you're insecure, where you're fearful, where you're demanding. My teacher used to say something to me when I was young. He said, Craig, you can be right or you can be married. Which one do you want? A lot of people want to be right. In couples counseling, people would come in, they'd have their story, they'd have their perspective, and they wanted to be right. I'm right, the other person is wrong. And that's not really love. And so in the realm of growth, ideally it's two consciously awakening individuals who are supporting each other in greater levels of awakening. But in reality, it's two consciously awakened individuals who are mirroring each other's wounds. And that's supposed to happen. We're supposed to fight. We're supposed to argue. We're supposed to trip over each other. Last night, I got excited because I saw the Bitcoin numbers last night. I've always been a fan of this new technology called cryptocurrency, and I don't need to go into that because that's a whole confusing tangent I could go into for hours. And I was sharing it with my wife, and and she got a little bit frustrated with me. She started making fun of it. She said, you can't use it. It's worthless. It doesn't mean anything. I said, no, you don't understand. It's the future and this and that. And we were going back and forth, and she started just throwing jabs at me. She does this thing where she just likes to just throw me just a bunch of random questions real quickly and get me really confused. In my mind, because it's really slow, I get confused by her little games that she plays. And you know, in one moment, I was wanting her to validate my excitement for following this trend over the last 5 years. I wanted her to just to validate this excitement that I had. And she wanted me to be more excited about her than, the current price of Bitcoin. And so it was funny, somebody, I had to laugh and she was laughing and, she was just kept throwing these jabs at me. And it was just pointing out, a disconnect that we had. Craig was excited about one thing and she was wanting actually something else. And so then I, had to stop and put my excitement down and realize I don't need her to validate, my thoughts about this new technology. What needs to happen is I need to give her a big hug and a kiss. A hug and a kiss. And see, in relationship, oftentimes we don't know how to communicate our needs, our wants, our desires. And then even when we do, we place a demand on our wants and our needs that may be immediately validated or met. And again, this just leads to messiness. I can even reflect on my daughter and I were hanging out today, and it was a snowy day. It was a really cold day. And she kept giving me a really hard time. And I was getting frustrated. I was like, why are you giving Dad such a hard time? Just arguing with me about everything. And part of being awake and in relationship and, being of service, wanting to share this space of love is learning how to listen compassionately to your partner. In this case, my daughter. And she kept fighting with me, picking on me, and just kind of being mean to her daddy. And it took me a long time to figure out what she really wanted was not to argue with Daddy. What she really wanted was to wrestle with Dad. And so I got down on the floor and we played this game that, like I'm the snake and she's a bunny rabbit, and she runs around the room and I, grab her and, try to bite her, and, she screams and giggles, and, then she'll jump on me and, kick me and do this and that. And see, this is what love is about. Love is the willingness to listen, to see what do they want. What I was wanting was like, my daughter just to sit and be quiet on a snowy day and give Daddy a little bit of space, but what she really needed was to wrestle, to connect. She had all this energy. She's like this wild child, and she didn't want to go outside and run. She wanted to wrestle with her dad. And so, conscious relationship. I'd like to, change the word relationship and just call it the conscious giving of yourself. That's what relationship is all about, is you giving of yourself. And first and foremost, you have to give to yourself first. When you give an abundance of love from you to you, then you have a cup that's overflowing. And you have a cup that's overflowing. If you ignore your own self and just give to the other, then you become quite needy, quite insecure. And so, this is a beautiful question. What's the most important value? Relationship is about love. Relationship is about giving. Relationship is about growth. It's not about me getting my needs met from you. As soon as you play that game, you basically plug into the greatest illusion, the greatest samsara on planet Earth. And you will fail at that. And life has designed it, so you will fail at it. Literally designed it. It's funny. I can even say this just with a little bit of smile. There's times when I'll notice that my wife is feeling really insecure, and just out of nowhere, I will say absolutely the completely wrong thing. Like a thought will drop in and it'll just blurt out my mouth. And I'll look at my own consciousness and I'll look up at God and I see that God's winking back at me. Because I know that's nothing I wanted to say, nothing I wanted to think. It wasn't even a thought I had. But sometimes God uses us in relationship to say, to do, to act out the exact wrong thing, to bring forward a wound so that eventually it can be healed. And so God uses us in funny ways. And I'm not saying that as an excuse. I can say there's many times when I moronically say the wrong thing. But in this instance, I'm speaking about God will literally bring up the exact wrong thing in your partner so that you can work something out. So that you can work something out. Now, if you actively choose to work on these very things, your wound, your shadow, your heartache, your pain, in meditation, in therapy, in yoga, on a massage table, in your journal or your inquiry practice, then God doesn't have to use your partner. God doesn't have to use your partner. God doesn't have to use life. God doesn't have to use your boss or your child or whatever. And so the reason I say that is because we have a choice. We can go at the pace of normal evolution, which is, we're unconscious and we have to, go the hard path of getting your heart broken and facing rejection and, having your life be a nightmare and have that be your path of evolution. Or you can sit down and spend some time consciously reflecting. What is my wound? What is my shadow? Where do I drop the ball? Where do I get confused again and again? And when you begin to do this work on your own and actually heal and transform your consciousness, what you'll find is life will reflect back to you. Oftentimes, just a healthy sense of goodness. There'll be a lack of drama, a lack of, painful experiences. Things become much easier after you've healed your core wound. But before you heal your core wound, God is just kind of yelling at you from all different directions. And this is why, it's like if you're in a relationship, let's just use for example with an alcoholic or an addict, and of course, it doesn't work out. We tend to go out and find that exact person again and again and again until we heal whatever that wound is there. Like I had that wound, and my father was an alcoholic. So I'd go out and find some, individuals who would bring me lots of drama and craziness into my life. But the more I did my healing work in relationship to my father, then life doesn't have to reflect back my childhood wound. Life can just reflect back someone who, in response to Kyle's question, consciously loves me and wants to share a life with me. And so anyways, beautiful question, Kyle. I could probably go on and on about that, but let's see what else is here. All right. How do we let go of a particular incessant internal critic? Oh boy, that's a great question. I'm amazed again and again about how many people have such strong critics in their consciousness, attacking them, attacking them, their own self. The way my internal critic showed up was the voice of my father. And in a really funny way, maybe not so funny, but it's like I had an internal drill sergeant. And my internal drill sergeant would say, get up early, get up at 5 a.m., let's start meditating. My belly would growl a little bit, say, I'm hungry. And the voice of the critic would say, you can eat when you're dead. You can sleep when you're dead. You can do all kinds of things when you're dead. It was just crazy. It would just say crazy things, to me. And the mistake almost everyone makes with a critic is we judge the judge. We criticize the critic. We try to get out the sword, excuse me, and cut the critic out of our consciousness. And one of the ways of healing the critic is looking at them directly and looking at their emotional state. So if you have a critic, you just close your eyes. If you look at their emotional state, what's the first thing you notice? It's like, oh, they're in pain. They're in pain. And so then we can ask a compassionate question. What do you need? How can I help? And critics do, very much what I was speaking about, what our partners do and our children do. They say they want a cookie, they need a cookie. But if you ask them again, like, what do you really need? A critic would say something like, I need you to shut up, I need you to lose weight, I need you to be younger, I need you to meditate more, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. But if you ask them a second time, like, what do you really need? And they'll tell you the truth. I need to relax. I need to let go. I need to soften. I need to smile. And so, if we have an incessant critic, you really want to feel into the critic and see, oh, there's an aspect of my consciousness that's really suffering here and really trying to control. It's having a real hard time. And so if you ask it, like, what do you really need? Oh, I need to lay down and do some shavasana. That's what I need. And the second time, when you ask the critic the second time, it's oftentimes the truth. And so discernment is the tool of, how do we work with a critic? You ask once, what do you need? Then you ask again the second time. Like, what's the true need here? What's the true need? And so, Daniel, we don't listen to the surface level thought of the critic because it's always something really harsh. We listen to what's at the heart of it. What's at the heart of this? What's at the heart of this? And if you look at the critic honestly, you see a couple different things. You see, one, the critic is in a lot of pain. Two, it's really scared, feels isolated, alone, frightened. You see that it's insecure. And of course, the third is that it needs love. needs love. When you love the critic, it becomes clear that the critic is just trying to help you. But, it's like, sometimes if you're a teenager and you have those parents who are saying, well, this is what you should do. You should do this and you should do that. Like, as a teenager, you don't really want to hear it. It's not really helpful what mom and dad are saying. You need to figure it out on your own. And the critic can be real similar. It's telling you what you should do. And it's scared. It's scared of the pain that you will experience when you figure life out on your own. But the truth, it has to be experienced. It can't just be told to you. You have to give yourself permission to fail. The critic is very scared of failure. It's a beautiful question. All right, here's another question. Craig, could you speak about how to accept and work with kundalini and spiritual awakening energies? And so when we have something difficult, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a critic, whether it's kundalini energy, one of the most helpful things we can do is just to stop, get out of the head, and breathe and feel and open. Just to breathe and feel and open. Not to jump back up into the mind, but just to breathe and feel and open and see what's here, see what's before you, see what's arising within you. And the big thing is people are terrified of feeling. But if you want to be awake, you have to get comfortable with feeling everything, feeling great beauty and intimacy and love, compassion, peace, spaciousness, stillness, and heartache, pain, rejection, sadness, despair. If you want to be awake, if you want to be free, you have to be willing to sit with love in both heaven and hell. And eventually the two implode into each other. So spiritual awakening is not just one giant walk in a park or on a beach. Spiritual awakening is a total embrace of heaven and hell. Kundalini awakening is a total embrace of heaven and hell. And through this embrace, you realize, oh, what I am is the timeless eternal, the very space in which heaven arises and which hell arises, beyond it all. Okay, here's a question from Lisa. Hi, Lisa. She asks, is mantra from a teacher required, or is it something we hear on the inside and thus acquire on our own? Oh, I like this. No, it's definitely not required for you to receive a mantra from a teacher. Is it something we hear on the inside and thus acquire on our own? Yeah. Yeah, the most true mantra that you'll hear is the voice and the radiance of your own beautiful heart. That'll be just like this hum. that you hear, that you feel, that you experience. I can feel mine right now. It's beautiful. Just this hum of love eternally in the background. Can a mantra be helpful? Sure. Of course it can be helpful. If you have a really busy mind, Lisa, mantra can be helpful. But what I've seen is a lot of people use mantras not as a concentration tool, what they're meant to be, but rather as a avoidance tool. A lot of people will just, anytime they're feeling uncomfortable, they just say their mantra. Anything happens they don't like, they're saying their mantra. There's a great episode of Seinfeld, where George's father, whatever his name is, he had a mantra, serenity now. And so anytime he was feeling a little bit anxious, he'd start saying, serenity now, serenity now. He'd start turning real red in the face. The veins start popping out of his forehead. And I think at the end of the show, he's like screaming it at the top of his lungs. And it shows how a lot of people use mantras. They use it when they're uncomfortable, and they're saying it like just to avoid thinking about or feeling or experiencing the pain of life, of life. And so in a sense, if we have a mantra, we want it to be something really simple. And you'll know a good mantra because it will make your heart light up. Like your heart will come alive when you hear it. There'll be a resonance there, like a smile, a lifting of a weight. And, instead of it being something that we use to avoid life, it's something that anchors us inward. Anchors us inward. I was with a fella, speaking with a fella, a good friend of mine, and he was over in Israel, and he was asking me about mantras. And, we were just speaking a little bit, and the mantra that came to him was just the word love. Love in Hebrew. And, I asked him, well, tell me what that word is. And as soon as he said it, my heart just lit up. I thought, oh, boy, that's a powerful mantra right there. And his was, what you're describing, it just kind of came out of his heart. This word love. And he just used it as an anchor, or just draw him inward, deeper and deeper into the power of his own being. To the power of his own being. And so, is a mantra required? No. I don't want to say anything's required. But you feel into it. You feel into your heart. Let your heart share with you. What is it? For some people, like if we're a Zen person, our mantra may simply be the sound of silence. The sound of silence. The sound of silence that just draws us inward and inward and inward. And eventually we want to realize that our mantra and what we are is one and the same. Is one and the same. And so anyways, beautiful question, Lisa. Good to hear from you. Yeah, good to see you. And we missed you on the retreat. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. Busy making flowers. Okay. I'll say this about florists. Just a little funny little side note. With Sri Aurobindo and his teaching partner, the mother, she had this great skill as a florist. She'd make these flower arrangements, and the arrangements of the flower were like a whole teaching in and of itself. She'd have like classes on it. People would come and just study the way each, flower was placed, and the arrangement is quite beautiful, exquisite. And so when we have that gift, that means we've come down on the realm of beauty. And that's a wonderful thing. It's one of the rays that I came in on. I'm not a beautiful, beautiful looking guy, but there's just something within me that just sees beauty everywhere. And it's such a beautiful thing because it really wakes up your heart when you see beauty everywhere. For a while, I would just cry, just looking at anything and everything. It's just fall in love with it all. Even if it was something that by normal standards would be considered quite ugly, see beauty in it. See beauty in it. So, anyways, thanks for sharing yourself. Okay, let's see here if I can press the right buttons. Ninette.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Awesome. So I had a question about kind of the root chakra, lower chakra qualities of power and presence. So after the retreat, the kind of super big, sparkly aspects of my perception kind of began to lessen and kind of return to a more mundane state, and there was some disappointment there, but what has remained is just this sense in my lower, it feels like really rooted in my belly, of just this love of being here.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm just discovering, and I felt this tipping point occurring over some years, but it's more meaningful and enjoyable and desirable to be here than to not be here. Whereas in the past, I think that was not the case. But I'm just wondering about how to kind of the nature of this deep body presence and kind of what, how can I cultivate and nourish this? And what is the nature of this presence? It feels very different than kind of the heart presence or the mind presence, or even just the kind of like out in space presence or vast spaciousness.
Yeah. So, Nanette, this is a beautiful question. A lot of it has to do with what I was speaking about a moment ago, is the total willingness to feel and be here. Total willingness to feel and not flinch. And so it's walking toward experience instead of walking away from experience. And so to say it a different way is, it's like the total embrace of life, to say yes to life, especially the ugly. And the heart is very easy, becomes very adept at saying yes to that which is good and beautiful, innocent, pure. But to say yes to the ugly, the difficult, the painful, the coarse, the harsh, to say yes to fire, yes to feeling, yes to heartbreak, yes to incarnation. It's like I give myself full permission to be here, to experience this human birth, this human life, and to not run from it. Almost every tradition is built on this idea of basically running away from life on planet Earth. And so there's something that wakes up inside and, basically says, I want to be here. I'm not going to be afraid of this world. I'm not going to be afraid of it. I'm going to see what's here. I'm going to give myself to the experience of growth, which again is painful, which is difficult. But there's like a silent, courageous, fearless bliss in it. And not many people speak about this because it's, it's a lot easier to speak about the bliss of, say, transcendence, the unity of the heart. This is like a willingness to give birth into the mud, to feel the mud, to experience the mud, and not run from it. Not run from it. And in a real non-dual sense, this is not something we can cultivate, because cultivation oftentimes is a game of the ego. It's wanting to control, wants to do it right, it wants to manage the process. Sometimes it really arises kind of in an ironic way or paradoxical way. It arises out of boredom. And by that I mean, I want all of us to imagine like if we were God and we were just pure, vast, spacious emptiness, say before time, and just like radiating light and love, and then at some point where I say, I wonder what it would be like to be in form. I wonder what it'd be like to fall in love, to give birth, to give birth to life, to give birth to being human. And so it's something that, in a silly way, it arises out of boredom. It's kind of like, okay, I know vast spaciousness, and that's wonderful. I know this incredible gushy love in the heart. But how about, what is it like to fully be human, to fully be here, to fully jump into the muck? Like, what's that like? And you see that this thing is giving birth in just countless ways. Countless ways. But most people have never claimed this as spiritual. Like, most people don't think of evolution, like nitty-gritty evolution, as spiritual. People think of transcendence as spiritual. But the willingness to play in the mud, to evolve a world in you as you. There's freedom in giving yourself fully to the fire. And it's almost like it's like the choice doesn't happen in the mind, it doesn't happen in the heart. It's more just like the body just starts to give birth to this new realm of divinity. And it says, yes, I am here. I'm choosing to be here. I'm not going to avoid being here or ignore being here, try to get out of here. In a silly way, I was watching like an hour ago that movie Christmas Vacation, and it was the part of the scene. If you haven't seen it, it's a classic holiday movie. But there's this scene where Clark brings in a Christmas tree, and in the Christmas tree is a squirrel. So he has a squirrel in his house, and he's like, someone hears a sound, so he's like looking in it, and out jumps a squirrel, and everyone runs away terrified. But at some point, he has to go and like capture the squirrel, and so he goes, back into the living room to go try to capture the squirrel, and his father says, "Son, I'm going in with you." And so it's like this willingness just to jump into life. I mean, the funny thing about them, they were all terrified of the squirrel, like it could harm them. But so the doorway opens through a willingness to face fear. It's that very thing, like, I'm going in there. I'm going into this world. I'm consciously choosing to be here. And so it's completely the opposite of what the ego wants. The ego wants to take a nap, wants to go somewhere soft, wants to get something sweet, wants to avoid, wants to check out, wants to go into nirvana land where pain doesn't exist. And so the basic truth of it, it's a willingness, a total willingness to feel and experience life. Not to say I want the good life, but not the bad life. So I want to experience life. Life. And in this experience, you're going to cry, you're going to fall on your knees, you're going to be nailed to a cross, you'll be humiliated. In a crazy way, I'm just going to say this out loud. Most of us, we begin in diapers and we also end our life in diapers. And there's just like a willingness to say, like, I'm here and I'm going to jump in and live my life to the fullest. And this is not an ego thing. It's not like I'm going to live my life to the fullest egoically. It's just this eternal surrender into being human and giving yourself full permission to go through that evolutionary channel of being human, of being a soul, of falling on your face and then getting up again and saying, yeah, let's do this. So anyways, beautiful question, Ned. I hope there was something in there that was helpful. Yeah. What a bright light. Thanks for sharing yourself, Nanette. Yeah. All right. Here's a question. Hi, Craig. I sometimes try too hard to be a good student meditator. Of course, my ego kicking strong. This morning, I tried to surrendering every breath and cell of my being and experienced a tremendous pressure in my head, followed by a fear of having been abandoned by God. It's never happened before. It took hours to get back to my normal self. It helps to be in the Sangha. It was humbling but terrifying. Much love. Sometimes try too hard to be a good student. Yeah, Lisa, I'm going to encourage you just to be gentle with yourself. Just to be gentle, to ease up a little bit. You're not being abandoned by God. It'd be impossible for us to be abandoned by God. Sometimes there's the feeling that we've been abandoned by God. But God is here fully in your life. God is here fully with you. So sometimes there's things, experiences that are dropped down into us, in a sense, to open us to something great. Something great. And so God is showing you don't have to be a good student or a good meditator. You are beautiful just as you are. Just as you are. When you hold on to the thought or the idea that I must be good, that's the energy of the critic, and it creates great pressure, especially in the third eye, especially in the jaw, especially in the shoulders of the back of the skull. And so just relax that. Just relax that. Okay. Richard, are you here? Can I hear you, Richard? I'm not sure. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, look at that.
Oh, look at that. There you are. Hi, Richard.
Yeah, there. Hi, everybody. So, Craig, I want to ask real quick, what happened to this hand function? Where did that go?
I have no idea. We'll have to ask the Zoom gods.
Gosh,
Yeah.
the Zoom gods spite me. Fair enough, it happened. So, to my question, Craig, I'm wondering about opening to, there's this piece in your teaching around opening to realms, and I've been really trying to get this. I can appreciate opening to like different, maybe like non-dual spaciousness or unity or the gut, right? These are kind of things that are talked about. But in your teaching in particular, you're always talking about opening to lots of different realms. Like I once heard you say that you were getting ready for a retreat and got smacked by a chair and went into just a bliss realm. Bah, just right there. You seem to be getting shot into realms left and right. And so I'm really curious about this. Sometimes you'll bring it in the Wednesday night meditation, like, oh, if you notice that something is opening, right? And you're kind of bringing it in.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about this aspect of the teaching. In those moments, I kind of try to really just not so much force, just be like aware of my experience. Like, okay, what is opening here? Am I noticing something unique and distinct?
Yeah.
And most of the time, I might notice maybe a little more light is here, something like this, but it's not so distinct as it seems to be for you. And so I'm very curious about this. And you can riff on that. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah. So when I met my teacher, he'd have me come up every Sunday and every Wednesday, and basically we'd sit together for 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, and he would just call forth these realms, kind of walk me through them. And sometimes he might do the same realm for a couple months at a time, and that realm, basically realms are they're just like doorways. And so like on YouTube, like we could click around and we could get in all kinds of different realms on YouTube. In a sense, like news stations, they're like, each news station has its own frequency of what they're offering, and it's like a whole realm. It's a perspective, it's a transmission. If you listen to NPR versus listening to I don't know, Fox News or Rush Limbaugh, realms, they're just different transmissions. And the way Jesus spoke about them, he said, "In my Father's house there's many mansions." Yogananda, he said, there's more inner realms than there are outer realms. And so in Buddhism, they like to keep things real simple. Vast spacious emptiness, love, compassion, and strength. And these are the three realms that Buddhism tends to focus on. I like those three realms. They're really basic. They're simple to understand. They tend to be simple to open up because they're aspects of your true nature. Like if you reduce the human being down, just in a non-dual way, every consciousness has vast spacious emptiness, love and radiance, and a quiet, indestructible strength. And so that's true nature. But true nature can also grow. It can evolve. Just like a human being can grow and evolve. And so, like, whatever you study, eventually, like if you study something fully, you become it, in a sense. Like one of the things I study, which is, kind of hilarious, I'm a man of peace. I also study like Muay Thai, like kickboxing. And when you study Muay Thai, you study about becoming a fighter. But what you're really studying about is being a warrior. And so you're opening to this realm. What the teacher say to me in Muay Thai today, I think he said, I'm probably going to butcher this, but he said, Sanchai means like 100,000 victories. And as soon as he said that, I just felt there's like this whole realm open up of all these, master warriors. And it was just like light was just exploding with 100,000 victories. And so whatever that realm was, I just temporarily just stepped into it. It's like, oh wow, it's exquisite. It's exquisite. And again, that's a silly example, but that's just how one realm just came to me, say through a Muay Thai class. And so there's different ways of being open. And so again, if we're like some people, they just open to the transcendent, and then that you just study the transcendent. In a sense, you open to that, you become that. But the thing my teacher taught me is, have your crown open and have your heart open. And, then then you will be supported by basically the creator of the universe, by the intelligence of the universe. And so most of these realms that I speak about, I don't invoke them. I don't really ask for them. Besides just a simple prayer of, Lord, you show me, you lead me, you guide me, you show me what's next. Speak through me, act through me, live through me, love through me. And so God will drop, realms into me. And, I'll start to experience what that realm is like. And then I can grow into that realm, and it can become an aspect of my consciousness. And so in a funny way, I was using the example of watching Christmas Vacation just a couple hours ago. And I was sitting there. I knew I was going to be teaching soon. And God just dropped a realm into me. I was just sitting there as Craig, just Family Guy. And, my little girl was, bouncing off the walls and jumping on her daddy. And I just start to feel a little disoriented and discombobulated as this energy just descends into me. I say, oh, okay, like it's getting near the time for the class. And so I'm simply open to whatever God wants to bring. And again, there's an intelligence to him. There's a specificity to him, if that's a word, specificness to him. It's God's intelligence that wants to come into the room, into the satsang. The idea of satsang is a meeting in truth. And so my job is to do my part and just make myself open. Like I don't really plan anything. I just make myself open. God opens a door, a transmission, and it tends to be some realm that flows through. So a different word for realm is an aspect of divinity, but I will say this, they are actual realms. And when you die, because you don't have a body and you're just ridiculously open, you're just light. you can travel through all kinds of realms, just here and there. And but it's not, it's not like a silly thing, like we're doing astral travel and, this type of thing. It's more coming from a place of humility of saying, like, God, I don't know what the transmission should be. I don't know what my life should be. I open myself to you and you show me. You're the teacher. You show me, Lord. You know what the next step is. And again, I don't mean like a practical step. What I mean is when God drops a realm into me, it comes with an energetic vibration, a frequency, and it's healing, it's liberating, it awakens us in a different way. So this idea of head, heart, gut awakening, that's a good start. But, there's 1,001, 1,000,001 realms we can open to. And the beautiful thing about it is the exploration of consciousness is endless. It's endless. And again, I'm not speaking about just playing around and going for a joyride. God created us. God created us as these explorers of consciousness. God created a world that has no end. And so in a world that has no end, I want to know about bliss. I also want to know about Amrita. There's a difference there. I want to know about love and compassion. I want to know the difference between stillness and silence. I want to know about the realm of Yogananda, the realm of Nirvana, the realm of, Prajna Paramita. And when I say I want to know, it's God's put that desire in me. It just shows me more and more and more. And the beautiful thing about having this attitude is you will eternally be humble. There's never a sense of me like, oh, I know the ultimate. The ultimate continues to reveal itself to me 1,000,001 ways. And so you don't get stuck, you don't get old, you don't get cranky. There's just a sense of just childlike growth and expansion. And there's also a sense of, it's like the opposite of what Lisa was asking a moment ago, of feeling abandoned by God. You feel supported by God. That God is just coming into you. Say, hey, let me show you another face of divinity, another world. Nothing becomes stale or dry or dead. And so there's no clinginess to it, no attachment. Of course, I have my preferences, like which worlds I like, but the same was true of God would bring me worlds of hell as well, and I'd sit and say, I wonder what this is about. And, there's that old saying, what is it, baptism by fire? Right? That's the saying, right? Baptism by fire, I think so. And I realized, oh yeah, like I'm being baptized here in the fire. It feels like that. It feels like when a new realm opens up in me, it feels like baptism. The washing away and opening into something incredible. Something incredible. And the more you develop mastery, you'll see that like it's a skill that you developed of noticing the subtle differences. And sometimes if you just notice a little subtle difference and you acknowledge it, the door opens further. And then a new wave of bliss or freedom or emptiness or light will begin to open more fully. And this is the beauty of, say, staying in a tradition for many years or staying with a practice for many years is, at first you may think, oh, I'm doing this so I can get that. But then you realize, oh no, I'm doing this and 10,000 things have woken up within me. And it's not just head, heart, gut, and something I can reduce to a couple, a quick explanation. It's like, it's ineffable and never ending. So anyways, beautiful, Richard, beautiful question. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to see if I can hurry up because I realize I'm running late here. Here's a quick question on Kundalini from Rajesh. I think it's Rajesh. Hi, Craig. I had a panic attack about a year ago. Started taking medication, then stopped taking medication. Now my body jerks while meditating. Help me correct my meditation, please. Rajesh, you're not doing anything wrong. Sometimes when we open, in a very similar way that I was speaking about, these realms come into us. We sit, we open. A new realm may come forward, may give birth in us. And that realm is Kundalini. And it's coming forward into your body, and your body's having a hard time with it. And so you need to learn to make friends with the energy. And your body may shake and tremble and jerk around for a day, a month, a year, until it integrates. So it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's possible that you're doing everything right, and this is happening. It shows that you're open and something big is wanting to come, and the body's just not ready to receive it all. The body's a flesh body, and basically a light body is coming into you. And that takes a little bit of time. And so I encourage you, could look into the new Kundalini group I'm bringing forward. You could look into meeting with me. We can speak about your experience and scan, look at your 7 chakra centers, noticing where you might be closed. Because where we are closed, that creates resistance, and that tends to make the kriyas worse. That's what that jerking is kriyas. And so get some support, get some help. But the big thing is to soften. You might just try laying down a little bit, doing some healing work, and trusting in the process. Okay. One more question here, if I could. Hi, Craig. I'm a college graduate, a recent college graduate, currently undergoing something between depression and awakening. I've been doing talk therapy, meditation, yoga. Have attempted to do breath work and somatic experiencing. And I have this condition called complex PTSD. However, I'm experiencing Kundalini symptoms and have been for some time now. Though I've been generally unwilling to face it due to my confusion and vague nature of the information on the internet and fear and anxiety that the concept creates. My ego is clinging to rationality, is highly critical of spiritual ideals. Do you think that MDMA therapy would be helpful in treating the fear and the anxiety? Yeah, MDMA therapy could be quite helpful with the fear and the anxiety. But there's a problem, though, when we take powerful medications or psychedelics to treat one thing, it could invoke another. Like a lot of people try ayahuasca to help with depression or anxiety or, a variety of mental health conditions. But then they do ayahuasca, and because it kind of takes the lid off the superego, all of a sudden their kundalini starts raging. And so, is MDMA therapy the best thing to do? Maybe, maybe not. Psychedelics can be powerful at healing, powerful at awakening as well. Daniel, I'd encourage you to look at getting some good support with someone who knows about kundalini. The biggest thing is for you to learn or to teach your body that you are safe, that you are loved, that it's okay to relax. I like a slow and steady path instead of like a quick fix-it therapy. And there's all these people talk about, you know, all these new studies coming out about psilocybin, LSD, MDMA, ketamine, these types of things, and that they completely heal you in 3 sessions and this and that. A funny statistic came out about psilocybin. If you do it once or twice, you immediately quit smoking. And it's not really the truth. It's not really the truth. Can they be healing? Sure. But it can also be overwhelming too. If you go in to heal your anxiety, but then the kundalini starts flowing more fully. The great question is, can you trust the process? And can you get the support you need? Kundalini awakening is about a whole reorientation of your life. It doesn't mean you need to move to India, but it's a reorientation around your heart, around you living the truth, speaking the truth, acting the truth living through you in the very cells of your being. It's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. It wants you to heal. It has your best interests in mind. But it's not something that can be pushed or can happen. It tends not to happen super quickly. Again, it's a lifestyle change. Can MDMA therapy be helpful? Sure. It could be. But it could also provoke the kundalini as well. You won't know unless you try it and see how it responds. I'm not telling you should try it, but you won't know until you try it. And that's the best answer I can give, my friend. You can prepare yourself before you do it. So again, speaking through someone who knows about it, kundalini and what you might expect or what might happen, how to soothe the energy if it does become provoked. That can be helpful. That can be helpful. So anyways, that's late in the evening. Much love to each and every one of you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. And this new year, can you commit to opening your heart to the love that you are, the light that you are? Much love to you all. Thanks everyone for your support and generosity. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Good night, everyone.